This is old news now, but as we all know, as it has been revealed to us, Arman Tsarukyan, Mauricio Ruffy, those two, they're going to be duking it out under as the co-main event for Joshua Van and Alexander Pantoja at UFC 331. And it just so happens very recently, today actually, live streamed on Ariel Helwani's podcast show, his show, the Ariel Helwani show. Arman was a special guest. He happens to be a reoccurring character in not only Ariel Helwani's universe, but all over media, all over social media with different influencers. Neon, Aiden Ross, Nina Drama. He's everywhere. He has grown, or he has expanded his IP, his he has expanded his name. Everybody knows about Arman nowadays. Even if you don't watch MMA, you know about Arman. In fact, you're gonna watch MMA. You're gonna tune into the next UFC numbered event because you want to see Arman Tsarukyan and see what uh what he may be up to, whether he gets into some hot trouble again or not. Let's get into his interview with Ariel Helwani, or at least a few important clips. Really, I just want to touch on kind of this theory that he's throwing out there. Kind of a bit unrelated, not unrelated to him, but kind of, because, it'd be setting up the numbered event that doesn't have a main event currently. It's currently TBD versus TBD. So maybe he answers those things. Maybe he clears up the air because in this post it says Arman Tsarukyan discusses losing the Charles Oliveira matchup and why some things still don't add up to him. They told me Charles' friend died and he can train, but I don't understand because 3 or 4 days later he was doing live streams and was back in camp. I think they probably already set up a fight with Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes, he says. Well, that's interesting news. Maybe you just found an excuse. Everybody is different, and losing somebody is so hard, but you could beat me and dedicate the victory to your friend. I just think they're probably going to make Charles against Diego Lopes for the BMF title. What a crazy idea. Now let's watch this in full. Let's watch this clip. It's 2 minutes.
Timeline here.
Seconds.
How did we, no, sorry, not Mauricio, Charles. We ended up with Mauricio. Can you tell us the timeline here? How did we end up with Mauricio Ruffy in LA?
So I supposed to fight with Charles. Co-main event 5 rounds, and then I went for my training camp, and then they, in 2 weeks after when I was in the mountains, they called me and said, "We got a new name for you. It's Ruffy." I said, "Okay, no problem." So because I don't want to pull out and wait for the Charles because LA 5 rounds, it's a big card, and I have not fought long time, and I need this fight. So, and yeah, that's all.
Did they give you?
It's interesting that he mentions it being in LA. It's not news to us or news to anybody that the last time Arman was supposed to be in LA, things didn't quite work out. He was supposed to be on that card in the LA Clippers arena. I forgot what its name is. The SoFi Arena, right? Or maybe that's the stadium over there. Whatever. He was supposed to be there in LA. A huge Armenian crowd, probably. Presumed to be, or you would assume that'd be the case. There's a lot of Armenian people in there. The Kardashians, for example, they're kind of like a Armenian-ish clan. So you'd imagine there's a lot of Americanized Armenian people over there in California. And he wanted to show out. He didn't get that opportunity the last time, and that changed the trajectory of his career because there was a lot of incidents going into that fight. Or actually, no. Well, there was a previous incident actually surrounding Charles Oliveira in that fight at UFC 300 where he had punched a fan. And then, of course, him pulling out of this fight because of a back injury and him missing weight. Well, that's what the people theorized.
Reason why it's not Charles anymore?
Because Charles' friend died, and he cannot train. But I don't understand. In 3 days or 4 days, he's doing live streamings and back in the camp, and probably they already set it up fight with Diego Lopes. He was just find the excuse, and now he just find the excuse, and I don't know if like everybody's different. Yeah, it's to lose somebody is so hard, but like you could beat me and like dedicate this victory to your friend and like, but you never know. So, but of course, like fight me or Diego Lopes, for sure he would pick Diego Lopes.
Is that what you think is going to happen, or were you told?
It's a bit of a long clip. Sorry I let that run out without giving many of my input. But he brings up the strange idea that you never quite consider that Diego Lopes and Charles Oliveira may fight. And that Charles Oliveira had this excuse. It was ready to go. It was easy baked because his friend or his teammate, Alan Nascimento, he had recently died August 3rd. And then August 4th, there was a post of Charles Oliveira. He was grieving as a friend and couldn't believe that it happened. The idea of it just makes no sense. And here's my idea, my rationale for this, or how I make sense of it. When someone dies, when someone passes, of course, you need grieving time. But at the same time, let's say you have teammates. Let's say you're a part of an organization. You're really a crucial figure. People look up to you. People look up to you as a role model. You're the guiding figure. You're almost like a father figure for your team. And now it's their turn to return the favor. Instead of letting you grieve, they're obviously going to pull you back into things because they don't want you to sulk. They don't want you to find yourself in a depressive state, something you can't get out of. Because if you're stuck there for a while, if you just let the emotions get to you, you just stop living, you just slow down the clock, or you pretend that time isn't constant. That's a problem. And of course, they would not allow that. They would not allow Charles to just forget or ignore his responsibilities, ignore the life that he has. Instead of just being a sad person, you have to live. You have to continue to live. Do what Nascimento can't do, but would want you to do. That's the ideal thing to do. And I can see on Arman's side how, that's a bit, that had me puzzled because why on earth is this fight between us? Why is it falling out? Why? We were supposed to have this matchup. UFC 300, we duked it out. It was a close fight. Even Joe Rogan, he made things a bit confusing and confused the audience by giving his input, making it seem like, wow, you're in some troubling positions there. You almost got Darce choked or guillotined at a few points and blah, 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 blah. And, the crowd, they eat that up because it's in the moment. Tensions are hot. And the crowd, they already love Charles Oliveira. Arman is this, at the time, he's pretty bland. He's pretty bland. He has no character. He has no life to him. He is just a fighter, strictly a fighter. But obviously that has changed. So I can understand his perspective. He wants to run that again, and Charles pulls out. This is a huge opportunity for him to circle back and go back to where everything started to go wrong, where everything started to fall off the train tracks. But unfortunately, things did not work out, and he's suspecting that Charles is BSing the situation, that, the death, obviously, that gets to you, but why is he already back in training? And then to make sense of it, his teammates, they pull him out of that funk, get him back on the road as soon as possible. But at the same time, what Arman is not capable of acknowledging right now because, he's got to play a bit of a heel. That is one thing he has to do now because he has this personality online. He has to play a heel in order to ramp up everything and make sure everything goes accordingly because things are pretty difficult. He's a hothead. Can't control his actions at the time. He's done a better job as of late, but at times he loses control. And this is another thing out of his control. But truth be told, sure, Charles Oliveira is already back training, but that doesn't mean he's 100% clear. It doesn't mean his head is clear of all those negative thoughts. It just means he's training again. It doesn't mean he can put on a camp and fight you in a month's time or a month later. Doesn't mean that. Of course, him bringing up the Diego Lopes and Charles Oliveira matchup, that makes sense because that's another month away now. I could totally see that happening. I could totally see a world where we get Diego Lopes and Charles Oliveira, especially Diego Lopes coming off of that win at the White House against Steve Garcia. Now him fighting Charles Oliveira, the current BMF title champion holder. And there's this UFC 332 numbered event with no one heading it. It's the perfect opportunity. You know, everything else is kind of booked. The lightweight championship or the welterweight championship was just on the line. Lightweight champion Justin Gaethje is going to be out of action for a good while. So do a BMF fight. Light heavyweight, Carlos Ulberg's not really there. You're going to do an interim match because Carlos Ulberg's not returning anytime soon. Heavyweight match, when is Tom Aspinall coming back? Is that set up for Madison Square Garden? Who knows? But 332. Oh, yeah, flyweight fight. That's happening on the same card as Arman Tsarukyan. This pay-per-view or this numbered event coming up. So of course, why not do the numbered event after Diego Lopes and Charles Oliveira? If everyone else is booked up, all these schedules are scheduled. You have to do something. You have to make it work. You have to fit something in. That's enough of this clip. Let's move on to the next one. I kind of dragged that on a bit, but it's all right. Let's see. What is this clip about? Oh, yeah. A promise from Hunter Campbell to Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan says Hunter Campbell has confirmed he'll be next for Justin Gaethje with a win over Mauricio Ruffy. When you sit with somebody and shake their hand, then it's going to be like that. It was an option to wait for Gaethje, but the best option is to fight, stay active, and especially fight in LA. I have to build my name. I make good money as well for this fight, and it's the number one contender fight. Honestly, just reading that alone, he has to fight. He can't sit out, and that makes a whole lot of sense given that LA, his first time in LA, was supposed to be him and Islam, and that did not happen. This is his time to make things right. Of course, the Charles Oliveira matchup would have been perfect, but that fell out. So now he has no choice but to, I guess, settle for Mauricio Ruffy, which isn't a bad name. Of course, he lost to Benoit Saint Denis, so doesn't necessarily raise the stock a whole lot, especially since BSD just lost to Paddy Pimblett, but it's a good win nonetheless, or nevertheless. So, let's watch this clip.
The main event was more interesting for me. That's why I watched main event.
Overall, though, you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I've seen. No, I haven't. I haven't seen any of his fights. Only his knockouts and like his result and where he. But
that's a bit interesting now that he says that he hasn't watched any of his fights, just the highlights. Which, when you think about it, a lot of nothing kind of. No, stuff does happen. He does build into it, but it's kind of a slow and steady build, and then, boom, there's fireworks. But still, there's a lot of in-between stuff that you definitely want to get in your head and drill that so you can figure out your opponent. So it's a bit strange that he hasn't read up on Mauricio Ruffy, hasn't watched any of those video clips, hasn't been through the archives and looked at everything there is to know about Mauricio. It's a bit funny though because he did talk about watching Michael Morales in this episode with Helwani. He talked about because he's a potential contender fight against Islam Makhachev, and he talked about he hasn't yet watched all of his fights. He has to watch all his fights, and then he knows how he'll stack up against Islam. It's kind of funny that he hasn't watched or looked at anything relating to Mauricio Ruffy except those highlights, given that he's talking about watching all of Michael Morales' fight. Strange, but Arman is a strange character.
And they gave it to me. I said yes, and I started watching his fights. I just watched a couple of his fights, and he's a dangerous striker.
Never mind, he just stepped back.
Have you been told you win this fight, you will finally fight for the belt, you will fight Justin Gaethje?
Correct.
You have been told this?
Yes.
Is it in writing or is it just verbally?
No, just saying. That's enough for me too.
From Hunter Campbell?
Rip. He said, he's smart. You're totally smart. He knows. Oh, man. Arman, when are you going to learn? You can't just go off a word, especially when you do a lot of stupid things. Well, he did mention later in this podcast that no more of those Dan Hooker type of moments. You can't do that anymore. No more headbutting his opponents. No more punching fans in the crowd. It's done a lot of bad for his career, and it's time that he rebrands, kind of, in a way. He is, I'll get into that later, but I don't even know if that comes up in the clips that I have, but that's a mistake. But all right. Let's continue.
Yes.
You believe him?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because I reported this as well, and I saw a lot of people. They say this all the time. Why should he believe them? Da 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 da. I want to
Yeah,
hear
but
from you.
like I flew there, I talked to him, and it's different. It's different when your manager is telling you something that they told them that you fight, but when you see
So that must have happened the last time around the Dan Hooker fight. His manager must have told him that yes, you beat Dan Hooker, you run through him, you passed this test with flying colors, and he pretty much did. I mean, there was a couple of guillotine threats, but it was never gonna lock in. Arman is terrific at that gator roll. Unlike Benoit Saint Denis, he's good. He's good at it. He got through it, but and then Patty did the padlock thing. He eventually got that in. It's just because that Benoit Saint Denis is a lot slower than Arman. Arman is just so damn quick. It's just crazy how much maneuverability he has on the ground. Everywhere, really. I mean, you've seen those that axe kick of his against Charles Oliveira. Crazy flexibility. You've seen that rear kick he did in the pre-fight or whatever it is. The numbered events or any event where they show a bit of footage of what's going on backstage and you're doing a little pre-game or pre-warm-up stuff. It's funny, goofy little back kick, but he's definitely got the ability, the agility, the flexibility. He's got it all. He's better than Benoit Saint Denis. At least from an eye test. Maybe not. Who knows if these two went together? I mean, look at Quill and Tsarukyan. New kid on the block. Struggle a bit with Benil Saint Denis. No, Benil Darius. He struggled a bit with him. And then eventually he knocked him out. Of course he did. He found the button. And honestly, it was more of Benil's mistake because he separated. He gave a bit of separation. He was clinching with him, trying a few takedown attempts. Didn't get him. And then he separated after a clinch in. And it was like an elbow or something. And then he just started throwing. And eventually Benil turned around, turtled. And then, it was a day. He called it a day. That was the fight. He just got slumped on the ground. Unfortunate. He fell and was face first in the pillow, kind of. All right, that's a terrible visual. But cool and Salkill, he did destroy Gamrot. Gamrot, he gave a tough matchup to Arman. This is very confusing. Their MMA math, it's never truly 100%, 1000% verifiable, or you can't use that to predict the future. The future is unpredictable, as we have found out this past weekend with Ian Gary and Islam Makhachev, where Ian always claims to be the future, and the future is now. I guess now means as in not right now, but a little bit later, that is the future, because, the future is, not now, it's the future. So he was wrong. He was mistaken. Maybe he has to change his name because if he's the future, that wouldn't make sense because whatever. I'm trying to explain this. I'm just sounding a bit of a fool right now. Okay, let's
with
continue the
somebody
story.
and like shake the hand, and then it's gonna be like that.
Was
And
the
then
option?
Oh, also,
Was the
are you
option?
annoyed by the door slamming behind me each and every time that I kind of get a bit jittery? Sorry about that. My apologies. I'll sit up and not do that anymore.
Option given to you to just wait for Gaethje?
Uh, it was the option, but the best option is to fight. Stay active, and especially in LA, I gotta build my name, and like I know I'm the best, so I shouldn't take the fight, and like I make good money as well for this fight, so everything good, money, hype, and number one contender fight.
Sure.
You know what's funny about that? He has to be active. That's his mindset currently. But there was a time around like last year or something like that where the Gamrot fight, that was a potentiality. And then it just never transpired because Arman, he's like, well, we're both at ATT, right? American Top Team. We're both members of American Top Team. So why would we fight each other? We're teammates. It's going to be a difficult thing to do. I don't think we should do it. We already did it once before. There's no need to run it back. But Gamrot, he's fully game. It's crazy because Gamrot at that time could have been in a title picture. Obviously, the Charles Oliveira fight happened and he got totally destroyed. And it's a bit weird. Charles just kind of ran through him. After that devastating knockout finish to him from Ilia Topuria sent him away for a while, and then he came back, gave him a fight. It was a short notice fight, though, might I mention. It was a short notice fight. Who was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be Oliveira versus... I actually don't remember who it was supposed to be. Charles Oliveira. I think it was supposed to be Fiziev, actually. Interestingly enough, it was supposed to be Fiziev and Charles Oliveira. But instead it was Gamrot. Of course, Gamrot's always game. And he went in to fight Arman, and Arman did not want to fight him. So he sat his butt out. Then he fought Dan Hooker. And of course, he headbutted Dan Hooker at the face-offs. Or was it the weigh-ins? One of those two things. And he headbutted him. And Dana White, after him, even though it was a great performance, absolutely stellar. Round of applause to Arman Tsarukyan. Cheers, hip hip hooray. Dana couldn't give him a title shot after that, even though it seemed like that was totally what was going to happen. The offer was on the table, but it was not a handshake. It was just his manager, as he had said, a manager and Hunter Campbell, or someone in the back rooms. You ever watched that movie? Someone in the back rooms. But this time, he shook the man's hand himself, directly, face to face, eye to eye. It's a done deal. Basically, not on paper yet, but it's a done deal. If he beats Mauricio Ruffy, then it will be on paper. He will be next in line, even though there are a lot of new faces at lightweight nowadays. We have Usman, which he does talk about, as someone who could actually do extremely well at the lightweight division and would actually put a spanking on Justin Gaethje. For some reason, he left out the name of Ilia Topuria, and Ariel Helwani also left that name out, because how would Usman fare against Ilia Topuria? Would he do well? Maybe. He does have excellent kicks. That is something that you notice from the guys out of the Dagestan, the Eagle FC camp. They have pretty damn good high kicks. We saw that in the fight with Ian Gary and Islam Makhachev. It was the toes, but 6'3" guy versus 5'10" guy. And it was a bit at range. He hit him with the toes, and it sat him down for a bit, and he was able to get a toss on him. It was good stuff. All those guys are really good. But just back to Arman. Back to Arman. I actually forgot what I was talking about. Okay, let's get to the next clip. Wow. Amazing. And here we go. Last clip to talk about. Oof. This one is a bit of a joking clip. Doesn't really matter, not a whole lot to it, but there might have been a few things extra. I don't know if this is part of the clip, but why don't we just talk about it? I forgot what his nickname originally was. It was like Alcoholicolats, Kets, Alakalakets, something like that. It's like a hometown place in Armenia for Arman, but he's moving on from that. He is adopting the name of Batman, and he's also taking this 200K bet from Neon. He plays She Wanna Hang with an Indian, something like that. Oh wait, let me just read this. Neon the streamer created the song She Wanna Hang with the Indian, something like that, and we had a bet. So for the next bet, I'm going to walk out to that. So now he's Arman Batman Tsarukyan, and he's gonna walk out to She Wanna Hang Out with the Indian from the song from the streamer Neon, who faked his death and was recorded at NBA game after post-faking his death, and also faked a bunch of other things. Interesting. It seems like... Well, I should have had a clip for this, but this is actually something I really wanted to talk about. He said after that Islam fight that never happened, that there was a switch, he used to be so serious, and like I did mention this earlier, that Arman's personality prior to, I guess, at falling out with the UFC, him and the UFC heads, butting heads, before all of that, he had no personality. I mean, the most personality saw about him was a offhand comment, and it wasn't really his. It was coming from a fan. It was this fan interaction. They were at this conference with all these type of fighters there, and it was a bit of controversial. Some people had things to say about it. I'm not going to really talk about it because, don't want to reopen that. But I'm just saying that Armin, he didn't really joke around a lot. There wasn't. I mean, he was a bit dry. He had that dry humor, kind of like the Charlie Sheen, an Armenian Charlie Sheen, but he wasn't a big personality. He wasn't up and about. You didn't know much about the guy. He was, privileged, some would say. Some would say a posh boy, depending on where you reside in the world, if you're European, British, something like that. But we didn't know about him other than the fact that he came from good money, other than the fact that we knew his dad had oil money, and of course, these Ariel Helwani appearances, they ultimately build him up on top of him, post-Islam shenanigans, him finding his way into the laps of various streamers, making his way on camera, debuting on different streams, this and that, wrestling with the MMA guru, being on stream multiple times, a reoccurring character, uh, a fan favorite cast member on all these different streaming platforms, playing basketball with Yuri Prohaska. Wow, did do that. And then Yuri lost to Carlos Ulberg. Interesting. He made the switch. He said he's not taking things as serious. And that sounds bad, but he wasn't really referring to those things. What he was referring to was the fact that he was too dialed in and he was overtraining, and that actually resulted in the complications that prevented him from fighting that fight against Ezam Akchev, which was the biggest moment of his career at the time. It was supposed to put him on the map. He didn't need to he didn't need to play up a character or anything. He didn't need to be the guy throwing wisecracks or making fun of in comedy. You probably know this. There's like the straight guy, and then the guy who's the butt of the jokes. I forgot what that character's name is, but there's this dynamic duo you have going on in comedy. He plays the straight guy in these different situations. The other guy is the butt of the joke. Neon, classically butt of the joke. I mean, look at this song title. She wanna hang with an Indian. She wanna hang with an Indian. Not very serious guy, right? And I believe he calls him gay guy all the time. He calls him a gay guy because he had blonde hair, like a possum or something. Or no, Yuri Prohaska said, I watched it. I actually watched that stream because how could I not? Yuri Prohaska, Arman Tsarukyan, how could I miss out on that? It's too good of an opportunity to have some easy amusement, some slop. I need some slop in my life. Everybody needs some slop, you know? You don't need it. You actually don't need it. It's bad to have that slop, but I enjoyed it. I ate up every bit of it. So he changed his image up a bit, put on a bit of a character. He's less intense with the training, at least to the point where he's not breaking his back. But at the same time, I do not like seeing these type of headlines. It's not really a headline, it's just a post from Ariel Helwani. It could be a headline somewhere down the line. I know definitely that comment, that shorthand comment about Charles Oliveira pulling out of the fight because he wanted that Diego Lopes fight may have been an easier fight for Charles. He's saying basically that Charles is a pussy. And that's kind of what he's saying. That make headlines because it's kind of some people they'll read that as he's just being total ass. Like, how can you say that? It's almost like he's tearing into the dead, but not really. It's him targeting Charles Oliveira, and I guess still gotta cut Charles some slack because he's the one grieving, and you're in two different positions right now. He's the one grieving, and unfortunately, he had to pull out of that matchup. But there is a possibility that he's gonna fight Diego Lopes. That one will make headlines, but this stuff it won't make headlines. But it is not important to not gloss over it because it puts into perspective that maybe his career is on a certain type of trajectory that isn't the best. I mean, he just had his first loss a good while against Colby Covington in a wrestling match. It was a close wrestling match. I don't recall the points. Maybe it was like 8 to something, blah, 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 something like that. Very close. And then Colby pulls away and wins the wrestling match. And that's his first loss. And Ariel, he does talk about this with Arman and says it's a positive thing, but I don't know if it's a positive thing given all this context of him surrounding himself with certain people like Aiden Ross, Neon, continuously being in that streamer pool, making appearances on Dean with Adrian Broner, doing all that stuff. It's not necessarily the best for his career. It's not ideal. I mean, it does give you this pool. It does have this audience gravitate towards you. People find you who may have not found you otherwise because they're not tapped into the UFC like that. But at the same time, it's a distraction, and maybe you do need to dial in a bit more. I'm obviously don't overtrain, but I don't believe you have to swing the pendulum so far to the other side where you're doing stuff that is not stuff that does not make you a better fighter, stuff that takes from your fight game and makes you a less serious person because, I mean, you kind of are who you surround yourself with a bit. And he's been around those people too much. Obviously, there's a lot of time in the day, a lot of time in the year, and he's not around them 24/7, but he's around them enough times to where maybe their habits, maybe just being too casual, too easygoing, it might not be the best when it comes to potential fights or upcoming fights. So that is a bit of a concern. That's really all I have to talk about for this video is just these couple of things surrounding Arman. I'm a bit concerned about him going into his fight with Mauricio Ruffy. I don't know if he can pull it out. I do root for him. I do think the UFC has been especially hard on him, but he makes it difficult when he does a lot of things that, it makes you it puts you in trouble. It makes you have legal consequences, like him punching a fan, or it wasn't a clean punch or anything like that. I mean, it wasn't even on camera. You couldn't make it out. It just he attempted a punch. He did. And also the headbutt against Dan Hooker. But I mean, what do you expect? He's a fighter. Of course, he's gonna do those things. These guys are hot-headed. They're there to kill. They have this different kind of mentality. That's what makes them the best of the best. But, maybe it's kind of lessening, like I said, which is why I'm a bit worried about that Mauricio Ruffy fight. Maybe he doesn't have that killer in him. He said, I forgot to mention this, but he did say that he wishes that Mauricio Ruffy spoke English so that he could talk shit, because Ariel Helwani brought up the fact that Pantoja and Joshua Van, they were going at it, and, Arman kind of wanted that too. Maybe because these streamers are rubbing off of him and he wants to be more of this heel figure that he wasn't quite before. Attention, it really does sell fights. It really does put numbers in the stands and all that. And maybe he just wants a bigger piece of pie. But, you put your attention on it for too long, that becomes your priority, and it overshadows everything else there is to the fight game. Then maybe you don't do so well. I mean, Mauricio Ruffy, he looks pretty locked in. He left the Fighting Nerds. He's training with Volkan now. He's in better company, I guess, for his specific career, what the trajectory that he would like to be on, and what he felt were the holes in his game. And also just taking in information from a guy who's fought the best of the best, been at the top, has seen the mountaintop and been above the mountaintop. He's been in space basically. He's been in outer space. I just think Mauricio Ruffy has a better head on his shoulders as of late, and I think he's cleaned up those areas. The reason why he lost to Benoit Saint-Denis, I believe he's cleaned up a lot of that. And this is going to be a huge challenge for Arman. It's not easy pickings, whatever the thing is. It's not easy. I'm concerned about that. I am concerned. The nickname change. Also, this unnecessary bet. She want to hang with the Indian. Do you really want to walk out to that? This is your time to make a statement. I guess LA. LA is a pretty clout-heavy place. So, you'll have the Armenian fan base still ride with you no matter what. They're with you. Kind of something you don't get in the United States. You don't get these ride or die fans, and they switch up on you quickly. It's a little bit of a snooze fest. They change their tune. They're no longer saying USA, USA. They never say your name. They just say USA, USA. And when you don't do what they like, they just say boo, boo. Even if you're their guy and the other guy somewhere across the world, not in America, not a resident here, not even like an immigrant. Like they literally fight from a different country, and for some reason you're getting booed. It's crazy. But they're riding and die for him. But there'll also be a bunch of clout. Chase it's a weird word to say. Very old internet slangy thing. And they'll be there too. The Jack Doherty's of the world. They'll be there too. I don't even know if he's in LA or not, but everyone you can imagine will be there. Probably Neon will be there, especially since he's walking out. She want to hang with an Indian, so he'll be there. Aiden Ross will probably be there. I don't like this, Arman. I really don't like this. I want to see you come back. And I was disappointed in you when you didn't fight Gamrot. I mean, that was a great fight for you. And you just needed to get fights in. That's a better fight than Dan Hooker, even though Dan Hooker beat Gamrot. It's a better fight because, for one, you lost that fight. I guess your mindset is. No, and it's not about mindset. It's just that he needed to. Also, there was bad blood. Not from the same team, bad blood, and he needed to take a fight. Damn. God, things just keep falling apart. The Charles Oliveira fight would have been such a better matchup. I feel like he would have been more intensely invested in this. It wouldn't be so unserious because that was a razor thin close fight the last time around. It could have gone either way. Depends on what you prioritize. I mean, the way that fight ended, he had to flatten his stomach out, or else he would have been submitted there, and he was surviving, but it was not a good look. No one likes to see that at the end of the fight. It's like the Mackenzie Dern and Jillian Robertson. It's like that fight. At the end, Mackenzie Dern was losing in that last one. It's not a good look. It's not how you want to end the fight. I mean, honestly, especially for women's MMA, they really need a. I mean, the public opinion is not the best on them, and if you really want to help that out, you have to get a finish. You have to do something a little more. You have to be dominant if you're not getting a finish, because that type of look, it's not a good look, regardless of women's MMA or just MMA in general. I'm just worried about Arman, man. I got distracted a little bit, but I'm worried about Arman. I'm worried. I like Arman. He has a fun personality. He's a bit dry. I always liked Arman. I always did. I was rooting for him against Charles Oliveira, to be honest with you. I didn't mind that he was such a dry character, but I know that a lot of people, they found him to be bland. You would look in the comment section, see what people are saying. They did not like him as much. He was lacking personality. He was like a saltine cracker at the time. But then he ramped it up, but maybe it's not for the best against Mauricio Ruffy. Mauricio Ruffy is just so dialed in. I'm just repeating myself now, but you get the point. If you like this video, then you should like the video. Because, if you like it, you have to hit the like button. Okay, that's stupid. And if you have something to say about me, to me, if you hate me, if you love me, if you just have a question or something like that, then you should comment on this video. Comment down below. Like, comment. And of course, if you want more of this content, you should like the video, of course. You should like the video if you like this and you want to see more of it. But you should also subscribe. That would be a great big help. I appreciate every single subscriber I get. And I really hope I get you to subscribe. You watching. I hope you subscribe and I get to deliver better content in the future. I wanna continue doing more like this, but I have other ideas, more involved project kind of ideas that I'm gonna work on. It's just to be honest with you, I kind of want to know that I have people watching me, and I haven't been active on this. I've been more so doing like short form videos, just seeing how that is, every now and again. But I'd like to have people watch these videos and me improve my speaking. I'm not the best speaker right now. I need to work a bit on that. I need it's just weird. It's a bit weird, it's a weird situation. You're talking to a camera instead of talking to somebody. It's easier to bounce ideas off when there's someone directly in front of you. And trying to work on that, trying to do these videos, trying to stay busy, when I have free time, and that type of thing. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like what I'm doing. I hope you stick with me to see how I progress and how I transform my content over time. I'm still gonna do those short form videos. I have other ideas I'm gonna do. I want to do more videos like this, to be honest with you. These are kind of fun. I really just get to talk and just work on that. I just get to exercise that muscle. I enjoy doing that. I hope you enjoy me talking. I don't know if I'm your cup of tea or not, but I could be in the future. Sorry I keep yapping, but I just have to get it all out there for you. Now, thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to follow me anywhere else, my channel name is, or my usernames are the Big Dizzy Experience, for the most part. So if you want to follow that, you can follow me on IG, TikTok. I'm the Big Dizzy Experience again. right now you can't really follow me on Twitter. I'm kind of suspended for some unknown reason. Twitter's kind of weird like that. I didn't do anything. I didn't even post anything. I'm not active on Twitter at all. I'm able to get on here. It's strange. I'm able to get on here and scroll and look around and stuff like that, but I can't, I can't actually really interact. And when I do search things up, it just goes blank. So that's something I'm gonna have to resolve. But follow me on the Big Dizzy Experience, same name, on Instagram, TikTok. Follow me there. Hear me out. Blah 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 blah. Stay tuned. Watch some more of me. Like what you see. Come back around and watch me next time. All right. That's it. Goodbye. Have a great night. Have a great life. Goodbye.